Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. We are heading back out to the Pac-12 to take a look at one of our favorite teams, the Oregon Ducks, as they go on the road to face the California Golden Bears. I'm not right on a ton of things. One team that I have been right on this year has been the Oregon Ducks. After that week one loss to Georgia, pretty much everyone wrote them off, said that they're going to need a few more years with Dan Lanning. I looked at that game and said, yeah, they looked bad, but I think it just got out of hand on them. It snowballed. You take a look at that roster, the depth chart that they have, the personnel that they have. It's a very talented team, a veteran offensive line. And I've been a Bo Nix guy. I mean, when he was at Auburn, and the listeners who've listened to me for a while have already heard this. When Bo Nix was at Auburn, he did not have any wide receivers, and he certainly didn't have a good offensive line. He was pretty much having to play hero ball. He comes to Oregon. He's behind a very veteran offensive line with some tremendous running backs and some very athletic wide receivers, and he looks like a completely different quarterback. We knew he had the talent out of high school. He's starting to hit his stride with the Oregon Ducks, and they were, 4-1 against the spread, with the only one they dropped was Washington State, which was kind of a fluke game. They really should be 5-0 against the spread after that Georgia game. People overcorrected, and this Oregon Ducks team is the absolute real deal, especially with that win at home against UCLA last Saturday. Before we get into it, then, again, I just always want to say thank you guys for the support. You guys have shown the channel. Again, if you like talking ball, consider subscribing to the channel. Let us know in the comment section how you guys think this game plays out, some players to watch. We love learning from you guys as well, and we really do appreciate the support. It means a lot. Let's get into talking some ball. Let's start with the Oregon Ducks and what we've seen out of Bo Nix. You take a look at what Bo Nix has done, especially recently. He's completing 72% of his balls for an average depth of target of almost 9 yards. Like, these aren't dink and duck balls. He is pushing the ball downfield. He is being very, very accurate with the football. The biggest thing you got to be happy about is the turnovers just haven't really been a thing. 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's also getting it done on the ground with 8 rushing touchdowns, averaging 8 yards per carry. The story of this Oregon team is how well they're able to run the football. Bucky Irvin coming over from Minnesota, averaging almost 7 yards per carry. You love what you see from Noah Whittingham. These are guys that, if you give them space, which this offensive line, this veteran group of offensive linemen are doing, they're going to make second-level defenders miss, and they're going to hit the big plays, and that's exactly what you're seeing. You take a look at the wide receivers. Part of the reason why I love this Oregon team is they can hurt you at every single level. A guy like Troy Franklin has been an absolute monster for Bo Nix, and especially in terms of pushing the ball down the field. He's averaging almost 16 yards reception. Chase Cota has also been a really beneficial guy for Bo Nix to have, and you take a look at this team, and you really, really like what you're seeing. Terrence Ferguson as well. This Oregon offense is the real deal. They run the football extremely well, and now that Bo Nix has some wide receivers, he has some good protection up front. When teams try to load the box, Bo Nix is making them pay over the top. And if you are out on this Oregon team, I just don't understand how you can be out on them anymore after what they've done the last couple of weeks. Now, they're going on the road against a California team that I am not a huge fan of. I wasn't a big fan of them coming into the year, primarily just because you look on the offensive side of the ball, and they just don't really have much. Jack Plummer only completing 61% of his passes, not really much of a passing threat. The only optimistic part of this offense is that Jaden Ott at the running back spot, who's averaging 6 yards per carry. He is very good with the ball in his hands. If Oregon can slow him down, pretty much take away that run game, I really struggle to see Cal move the ball consistently against Oregon, especially when you look at Oregon and what they're coming along in the secondary. A guy like Christian Gonzalez, the transfer, very, very good. He's getting his hands on a lot of footballs, getting some interceptions. I like what I've seen from him, but then that front seven, I really struggle to see giving up a lot of yards to this California Bears team. Guys like Jeffrey Bassett, Noah Sewell, Justin Flo, some of the best linebackers in the whole entire country. You add DJ Johnson, you add Brandon Dorlus. I struggle to see this Oregon team really getting shredded by this California rushing attack. And if Cal can't run the football, I don't see how they score over 20 points in this game. I really like Oregon to cover 14 points on the road here. I think Oregon scores roughly in the 40s. I think they can definitely at least upper 30s. I don't really see Cal getting inside the 20s. I think this will be kind of a blowout, and this is what Oregon's been doing to teams. And I normally would back off of a big line like 14 and a half, but this Oregon team, we've been taking like what they did against Arizona. They beat teams very badly, especially when they're scoring in the red zone. When you're looking for a team to cover this many amount of points, you have to score in the red zone. The only game they did not really scored touchdowns in the red zone was Washington State. And that was the one game since the Georgia game they haven't covered the spread. In every other game, they're extremely efficient in the red zone. They can run the football when they get inside the 20. You really do have to like this Oregon team on the road. I don't like Cal enough. I love this Oregon team. I think Dan Lanning is kind of the right guy for this job. And you look at this Oregon team, one loss against a very, very tough Georgia team. You look at their future schedule, you have to, if you're an Oregon fan, you're on the road at Cal, you're on the road at California, you have Washington at home, which will test your secondary a little, and then you have Utah at home, then you go on the road to Oregon State. You have a few, I wouldn't say cakewalk games, but games that you should comfortably win against Cal in Colorado, and then you get into Washington, Utah, Oregon State to finish off the stretch. This looks like the Pac-12 favorite. If I were picking a team to win the Pac-12, it would be the Oregon Ducks. And on the other hand, California 1-3 inside the Pac-12. The last 3 games, they only scored 9 points against Washington State. They only scored 13 against a very, very bad Colorado team and ended up scoring 21 against Washington. But Washington's defense definitely has some question marks. I really like Oregon and the points here. This team is very, very good, and they don't let teams hang around. They score touchdowns in the red zone. They do not turn the ball over, and they'll just run the ball right down your throat. I think the one story is if Cal can slow down that rushing attack, Bo Nix will have to get it done through the air. The only thing is he's been great through the air. Again, completing 72% of his footballs, not turning the ball over. This Oregon Ducks team is for real. I like them to cover 14.5 points, and that'll do it for the preview. Again, if you guys do like the content, consider subscribing to the channel. You Duck fans have been absolutely awesome. This team is very, very fun to watch. You have to have a good feeling about Dan Lanning. And just this program being in the right hands, as good as Mario Cristobal was, recruiting, getting talent to come to Eugene, the in-game coaching wasn't great. What Dan Lanning is doing with this Oregon team, you have to absolutely love. They have some great young talent. This is going to be a really exciting couple years for the Oregon Ducks. Again, appreciate you guys checking us out. If you like the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate y'all, and we will talk to y'all later. Peace.